name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on tonight's show, I'm pleased to have the Derby head coach, a former Woodland guy. We were just going back and forth. I could talk to this guy forever. Coach Jeremy Clark. Clark, great to have you on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, Chris. Happy to be here.
You know, it's crazy because you're not that much younger than me. I think only by a couple years, if that. And we were just going back and forth, reliving the days with, we mentioned Dibias, Arsenal do a hundo many, many times. And, basically your time with Woodland and such. Before we get into your coaching with Derby and how you got there, you were telling me that baseball was your first sport. Football was not so much there in the beginning, was it?
Yeah, that's right. So I grew up playing baseball, always around the era of football was a weight limit thing. And I was always the bigger kid and played baseball every summer. Never really thought about football up until I got into middle school, and all my buddies are wearing Junior Hawks shirts to school. And I getting jealous of it, like, oh, I want to play. And then I go to sign up and like, well, you're going to be not with your class and you're going to be with the bigger fellas. I was like, oh, I'm going to go back to playing fall ball. I'll just go back to playing baseball and playing basketball. And then, as the minute my freshman year came along, I was like, yeah, I'll try out football. And rest was history, fell in love, and ended up quitting baseball halfway through, high school career just to keep playing football, lifting, and doing all that stuff.
Do you think it helped the fact that you were a little bit, I don't want to say late to football, but because typically when you play sport for a long time, especially football, there's going to be some injuries that maybe you didn't notice when you're younger, because obviously you're more springy and you're kind of living, you're loving life. But then as you get older, then the knees start to go a little bit. They start aching. Do you feel like that playing baseball and getting to football a little bit later kind of helped your health as far as a football player?
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I do love everyone who plays youth football and stuff, I've always been on the side of, hey, that doesn't need to be the end all be all. You don't need to hop on the Pop Warner programs if you're just not ready or just don't feel it yet. I had the same thing. I'm a little timid about football. It's a contact sport. It's just intimidating sport, and it saved me in the long run. Coming off freshman year, you get to learn the game. They moved me up pretty fast, but I was learning from the best from seniors, and the following years I was competent enough to start focus on the weight room, and that's something like I even preach to the freshmen now. It's like you have a year to learn football, which at Derby they haven't done in a long time because the program's we've been all over the place. I'm sure we'll get into it, but those kids who never even played it down, I even tell them, hey, we're not going to be intimidated here. I've been in your shoes before. I was in the same boat just over 10 years ago, walking in. I don't know how this is going to go, but at least I have a year to just understand the game. And then I fell in love with it. So yeah, no, it saves the knees a little bit, especially as an O-line guy, and didn't have to be in the trenches for more than I had to. So it was all good.
As you played football, as you entered Woodland, and I know, being at Woodland, just from my point of view, from the broadcast standpoint, also being able to talk to various players, obviously Moffa, I mentioned Tyler Belinsky, who's up at Anna Maria, just won a ring with them, with that squad, who, fantastic. Steve Kroos, Waterbury guy, Coach Holy Cross, doing his thing now, a head coach. It's great to see that guy doing his thing.
Yep, that's awesome.
Just knowing how Woodland cares about their sports. It's I think a small town, small area, but they love their sports, blue collar, respect it. For you early on, did you feel like there really was not a lot of pressure because kind of in some ways everybody, not to say they were in the same boat, but there wasn't this like, oh, you got to be like state champs. There wasn't any of that really, to my knowledge.
No, but I was lucky. I grew up in a timeline where Woodland was winning state titles. Okay. So, I mean, me and my friends were like, oh, well, this is what we're going to do together. So even then, we just never talked about it. We're just like, oh, we're going to play sports. It's the only thing to do in town, which is great. Spend time whenever we're outside playing in the summer, playing sports. It's just how this town is, how Beacon Falls and how Prospect is. And, it's easy to latch on to that tradition. And especially like first day of my freshman year, I won't forget it. There's 45 freshmen in the weight room alone just to get freshman workouts, and had a full freshman team. Way different than you see now on every level. I mean, even you can talk to double L schools. They're not pulling in 45, 50 freshmen for a day. And this is a class of less, 125, 130 people. And more than half of the boys, 80% of the boys are playing football already. It is cool because we all just knew growing up, going to play sports. Woodland has a great tradition, and it's short time. and we just wanted to carry it on. So that was the only mentality we had.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I remember when I was doing softball during the spring, and I thought softball won at least one championship, and I didn't realize they never won one until this past. Because I
Yep.
remember some great softball
Oh
teams
yeah.
from them, and again, congratulations to the Lady Hawks to be able to do
Mhm.
their thing. They got the title. Kylie Belinsky, Tyler's sister,
Oh yeah.
finished off her career going 4 for 4. I think in that final game, it was crazy.
Crazy. Unbelievable.
But just thinking about the history of that and just, what Woodland stands for, it's great to be able to see the success that Woodland has had throughout the years.
Oh yeah.
When you were done playing, as far as at Woodland, did you play in
Mm.
college, or was it just not your thing?
No, after high school, I was full intention to play college ball. I ended up going to Sacred Heart University with the intention to play football. Just wasn't in the cards. Went on just be a student and wanted to be good at that. I enjoyed it. My last game was a state all-star game, had fun, but again, even here with all my friends who could have gone on and probably been stud college football players as well, we just had the mindset like, oh, this was the best time because we did it together. And I kind of cherish the memories I did with my guys. And when I was done, I was like, I really don't have an ego to do it anymore. And I was just focused in the classroom at this point and getting my degree and getting to work.
So, and it's good as far as being able to find
Mm.
something kind of that post, football career, post
Yep.
career playing sports. But with that being said, every every so often, I think every player kind of gets that itch, like, should I coach? Should I maybe want to get
Mm.
back into the sport, baseball, basketball, football? You kind of get that itch, but sometimes it's just an itch, then it goes away. But for
Yep.
you, coach, it was more than just an itch. It was, I want to go back and coach football. Talk to me about your
Mhm.
first opportunity.
Sure. So 2015, right after the year after Coach Shay's last run, they go to the state title with Tanner's class. Great group of kids, and me and my friends who were not far. I was only at college in Fairfield. I'd be at most of the games just seeing the guys because I missed it. I missed it a ton. Coach Phipps took over the following year, and Coach Phipps is my guy, and he asked for some help in spring. So I came around, not thinking of much, wanted to see Moffa, wanted to see everybody, and just helped out for that spring period. I'm like, oh, if the door opens up again. And Coach Shay said to me once, it's some of my guys, one day we're going to tap you on the shoulder to come back and give back. So even then I was like, oh, I'm going to wait for that call. And years go by. And then Moffa takes a head coaching job, calls me, and not there, still working construction, hours not working. Following year, able to fully coach and fell in love with it. So I joined on for the 2018 season at Woodland, just helping out. And I was like, okay, well, I need to find a way to do this forever. And that rest was history. Just a couple gaps and the COVID year, and then finally like just talking to Steve Bainer, catching up with him, talking about baseball and the great work he's doing with Woodland, and was like, hey, I knew you're the Derby head coach. What are you doing this for? You need an O-line guy this fall. And next thing you know, I was there, and the rest is history. And pretty fast turnaround becoming a head coach, but definitely had the itch right away, especially just like watching the success of the Woodland program, along with a lot of my teammates still want to be involved. And I knew since I was home and I was working at home, I'd have the outlet to help out again. So I wanted to jump at it.
And you mentioned Tanner, who's now the OC
Mhm.
with Anna Maria, named the OC. And again,
Yep.
that family, the Kingsley family, is just, you talk about the great families. I don't know if you know the Diedelbaum family for
Mhm.
Naugatuck. A lot of talent. The Kingsley family. I know there's others. There's an Outlaw family from Ledyard who's produced a lot of talent. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things where I feel like that family, the Kingsley family, I feel like has a lot of skin in the game when it comes to sports at Woodland.
Oh, absolutely. I would just say for the town of Beacon Falls. I mean,
Correct.
their dad, Mr. Kingsley, Mike Kingsley, my guy. He was my youth baseball coach. He was our travel baseball coach for years here in town. And Tanner, playing along him because he's only a year younger than me.
Mhm.
Just the amount that he was able to accomplish at Woodland, along with both of his brothers. I mean, Cody made an NVL championship run, and Shane regards as one of the best athletes Woodland's ever had, just in multiple sports, as a baseball player and a football player, being that scrappy wide receiver that I idolized when I was a kid. And knowing the Kingsley family and being close to them for all these years, and seeing the impact they make on this town, it's so positive. And definitely lucky to grow up in an era where they were, they were active in the sport and
Mhm.
giving back, and Mr. Kingsley's coaching, and it's awesome. Really, really, they were a blessing to the town for sure.
Now, when Coach Moffo was the head coach for Woodland, because I was a part of the second half run for Woodland, so it would be the 2 years went 8-2, 8-2. But I remember when I was doing research and I saw 1-9. You mentioned it, 1-9, 5-5, and
Yep.
how he was able to get. And I know it was a staff and the team, but I'm just
Mhm.
talking as a collective whole. How he
Yep.
was able to get everybody to buy in. And I remember talking with him about what was the biggest change to get this team to just have that switch on. He said the weight room. He said you
Mhm.
can't win games. Well, he did say you can win games on the field in the weight room, but he
Yep.
said you can 100% lose games if you don't have the proper weight training. Can you define what he meant by that?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the success we had at Woodland, winning the weightlifting titles back when I was there and stuff, and having other success, and even personally for me, the amount of success I had in the weight room with Woodland, for Moffa, for Schultz, when Schultz was our strength and conditioning guy for a year. It not only builds a culture, but it builds a expectation for success in the off season. The kids that are working hard and showing up every day, and in our groups lifting, especially with Moffa, where he jacks up the intensity a bit. It gets you that in-game feel before you're even out there in the fall. You're kind of prepared for anything at this point, and you're physically getting stronger every day and focusing on stuff that a lot of teams aren't as establishing at the beginning, when they just are more focused on going to camps or doing other stuff. Where at Woodland, especially in the time that Moffa was there, weight room was number one. Our time in the weight room was number one, and that was most important.
Another thing too is I remember every single time I went to a Woodland game to broadcast, I would always hear some heavy duty metal. So I can only imagine that that was playing in
Yeah,
the weight room.
the weight room was loud. Yeah, we turned up the music, only turned it down for instruction, then jacked up the Van Halen or the Hate Breed and got back after it.
Yep, that's what I heard. Exactly,
Oh yeah,
100%, Coach. Coach, I'm running out of time here. I appreciate you coming on
sure,
here. Now,
absolutely.
you have the opportunity to be able to take the job with Derby. Coach
Mhm.
French was there, and then Bainer was there after. It's been some time since Derby has had a winning season. I think the 2015, 2016 season,
Yep.
something like that. I'm not going to ask you, oh, are you going to win 10 games this year? I'm not. No, I think, and we were going over this. You
Mhm.
have the off season where you're getting kids to come after what was
Yep.
a tough second half where you guys had to forfeit games. To be able to get, and you told me about culture, buying in what you're selling. Just for people who may not know or aren't familiar with as far as how the off season's been going for Derby, talk to me about that.
Sure. So coming into last year, after that season ended, and unfortunate stuff took place for lose games, and lose that season, the kids realized, and this is even before I came on as a head coach, it's like our time here is super, super short. It's a blink of an eye. You lost a season of COVID, then you lost half a season because of numbers, health, and safety concerns. Coming to the spring, the minute I was appointed as a head coach, because I want to do whatever I can to come back, I focused on, hey, let me get kids lifting in the spring, which is just like an optional thing, while I was setting stuff in place and getting my staff together and getting the ball rolling,
Mhm.
culture wise, but starting to give kids expectations and telling them that we have to meet these expectations in order to compete at varsity level. And then coming into the summer, having an end of year meeting with 50 kids in the room, and most of them interested in playing football, just a feeler, just consistently being there every day. I mean, I just went out of track practice talking to kids who never played down. Like, you're 6'2", why aren't you playing football? Starting with that. But get into the summer, the lowest number we've had in July, and I say go take your vacation. You got a baseball tournament, go play the baseball tournament. I've been there before. Lowest number we have 25 kids, and we're towards now we're getting OTAs. We're having 35, 36 kids a day, with more just signing up. I like just freshmen have just like kids are just shown up now,
Mhm.
and trying to get out of the Google Classroom and get on this train, because a lot of my rising seniors and upperclassmen are preaching the word around the school to the kids, like, hey, we're doing this, and when it's September, it might be too late because we're hopefully out of uniforms. So that's the goal, and that's what I've been telling the kids. And we've been filling the weight room, and I'm super jacked up, especially with the progress we made this month.
Coach, I can see the energy from you, and I know you and I were texting a lot before,
Hmm.
coming on this interview, and I could just sense the energy. And no disrespect to what Coach French did, no disrespect to Coach Bainer by any means, because I love, I know Bainer more than French.
Yep.
Bainer had to do what he had to do because he's got a family. It's hard to do two sports. I know Coach O'Toole had a hard thing to do, coaching
Yeah.
basketball and baseball. Baseball, Sacred Heart, before they
Mhm.
closed down. Obviously, basketball at Derby before he had to walk away because, again,
Mhm.
family is very important. Respect it. But I
Yep.
think and I'm sure Bainer gave you his blessing, said, hey, go take this, my
Absolutely.
guy, and run with it. I can
Mhm.
see the energy, and I know just from my knowledge from these young athletes, they can smell fake. I don't see fake here by any means. Your body, like you will be honest. I think you'll be like, hey, you will be stern when you have to, but at the same
Mhm.
time, just the energy, and I can see it, man. I can see why kids are buying in and they're coming.
Appreciate it. Yeah, no, Steve's the best. Coaching with Steve, he's a really class act, best dude, and what he does with baseball, it proofs in the pudding. I mean, two runs and going to state championship last year. I'm proud of him and all the stuff he's doing, and his family's growing. And the amount of work that we put in as a coaching staff last year, it does go miss with a lot of people and a lot of people in the town, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Steve. So I give all the credit in the world to Steve and the decisions we had to make that were very tough, but I had fun with them. Even as bad as it got, we had a lot of fun together, and that's my guy. And Coach French is a great guy who's went out of his way at this point to text me almost bi-weekly. I had to tell him to stop. Just trying to help and just wanted to make sure Derby's on the right path, and that's all I want to do. Just keep going uphill, keep climbing that mountain as a team, and building this thing together. We're not going to be a 10-win team overnight, but the culture is going to be there, and hopefully in the fall when teams show up, they're going to be like, well, this is a little different. This is a little different than we expected Derby to be, and that's the goal.
Jeremy, before I let you go, as far as
Mhm.
this upcoming season, I know we're talking about wins, and obviously winning games are important.
Yep.
But with everything that happened last year and just being able, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of young talent who will be getting opportunities. What will you be looking for this season if the wins? I'm not saying they're not important,
Mhm.
they are. But with everything going on, what are you going to be looking forward to as far as first year head coach with Derby?
Competing. That's the one word. Competing. Being in every game for as long as we can and fighting and showing our kids have that grit and that toughness that a lot of the town has had from the 90s, and showing like, okay, this isn't a team that's going to roll over anymore. This isn't a team that you're going to see for one half. We're going to play 4-quarter football games. We're going to compete. We're going to be physical, and that's the only thing I preach to the kids, and that's why we're in the weight room, and that's why there's 35 kids there. They all want to compete too. So really excited for the season.
Derby's got a lot of history. I remember back in my day. I mean, I feel like I'm only 29, but going back to my day, back in the
Yep.
2007 to 2011,
Mhm.
Ray Krieger and all them, and I think he had a younger brother or something like that too. They
Yep.
were,
Mike. Yep.
yeah, Mike, exactly. So
Mhm.
there's talent in Derby. People may have forgotten that it's
Mhm.
there. It just had a little bit of, it happens. It happens to everybody.
It happens. It does happen, and not for nothing. The track program here is a state championship level track program. Coach DeLugo and all the great work he does.
Yep.
I came back with 3 guys who were all American for the 4x1. With one senior graduate and 3 guys who all American sprinters. It's a speed that I'm not used to. I like to live in the slow lane most of the time as a old lineman road grader kind of guy. But seeing these guys move, it's like, well, we have something here. There's athletes in Derby. There always will be, and
Mhm.
there'd be Valley guys in Derby forever. So when people want, mixed up with the teams of the past, those guys, they had guys too. But we're gonna build on what we have, and pretty confident we have some speed on our side.
Coach, I wish you nothing but the best of luck this
Thanks.
season, and I hope to be able to broadcast a game this coming fall for Derby. I really
Absolutely, I appreciate it, Chris. You're the man.
no problem. Now wrap things up in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Here in City stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm Jerry. Find them all. Enjoy their shit, everybody, and be well.